I am Chef Tiffany and I'm from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to Sanjeev Kapoor Khazana. I'm here in support with the U.S. Consulate of Mumbai, and I am here to show you one all-star classic dish when we're talking about America. We are talking about the mac and cheese, baby. So I'm gonna get the roux going. I remember growing up, this was kind of one of those dishes that we had quite often, and my mom would make it. And then I got to culinary school and they called this particular sauce a bechamel. And I was like, bechamel who? Okay. Bechamel is really just butter, a little bit of flour, and as it cooks down with the milk, it makes what we call a roux. In some cooking, a roux can be oil and flour, but this one is butter because the butter kind of imparts a flavor into the milk, which makes the mac and cheese. It's kind of the base. This is that cheese sauce that everybody else calls, right? So bechamel at that point, once you mix the butter with the flour and the milk, a little bit of nutmeg, and then some people put in cheese, but I'm gonna show you my way of doing it, which I think is better. All right, butter is melted. Gonna add in my flour, and we're making what's called a blonde roux. And what that means is we're not gonna cook it too much. We're gonna let the kind of that buddy, nutty flavor from the butter come out, mix with the flour, and that's gonna thicken the milk. So we need it to thicken it. If you cook it where it starts turning brown, it's gonna be a brown sauce, and that's not a bechamel. Nor do we want that with our macaroni and cheese. All right. Yum, it's coming together, bubbling. All right, whole milk is always gonna be your best friend. If you rather use a little bit of less fat milk, I mean, if that's what you feel like you need to do, then go ahead and do it. But if you're already just making mac and cheese, like you're already there, just enjoy the fat, the love, the flavor that's gonna be in this. Embrace it. Remember, it's okay as long as you don't eat it every day. So you see how liquid the milk is. As the roux, which is that flour and butter cooks, it's going to thicken it automatically. I already went on and cooked the pasta, and you can cook this according to the instructions on the package. You just want to make sure that the pasta is fully cooked. This is elbow macaroni, and the reason I like the elbow, which is the classic, it's because it has these nuggets of room that the cheese can go in, and it just gets in there and bakes up, and then you have all that cheesy goodness in the center of it. You can use any kind of pasta though, anything works. See, it's getting thick already. And this process really takes about 5 minutes. So you can see how the roux is already making the sauce thick. I'll show you a little bit more what you're looking for. This is called, in culinary school, they say nappe, and that means that the back of the spoon is coated when you can run your finger through it. If it's too thin, you need to let it cook a little bit more. For me, this is getting a little thick, so I'm gonna add a little bit of milk. You can also add water if you don't have enough milk. But I mean, we're already there. We might as well continue it alone, right? Oh yeah, that looks good. I'm gonna add a touch more. I don't want it too thick because I'm gonna toss the pasta in this, and it won't be creamy if this part is too thick. Here's the next trick. We're gonna add in some salt. Be careful not to go crazy on the salt because you're gonna have cheese. So you don't wanna have too much salt, but you need a little in the bechamel sauce or it just doesn't taste right. It's gonna be sort of weird. Here is black pepper. And this is our special ingredient. It's called nutmeg. Nutmeg in mac and cheese is what makes it delicious. It adds this extra oomph to it, and you're gonna really like it. It may seem weird to some folks, but a true bechamel sauce is made with nutmeg anyway. Growing up, we always added a little bit of mustard. I know you're like, I sure like my mustard. Yes, I do. A little bit of Dijon mustard. You could do yellow mustard. You could use a little mustard seed, or you can use mustard where it's already granulated in powdered form. I was telling you about Worcestershire, and Worcestershire is kind of this base of umami flavors, which really just means it has a little bit of sweet, it has a little bit of sour, it has a little bit of tamarind. It has all of these flavors that age together, and it really creates something lovely. It goes a lot of times in barbecue sauces or any kind of meat where you want to bring out the depth of a flavor. So there's different versions of mac and cheese you can do. You can do mac and cheese on the top of the stove, which we call stovetop macaroni and cheese, and that really just means that I take the pasta, I toss it in, I make my cheese sauce, my sauce with the cheese, so then you get a cheese sauce, right? And then that's it. I like a baked mac and cheese. I feel like that's the classic mac and cheese. So I take my pasta and I mix it into the sauce. Let all the nuggets of sauce get between the pasta. You want to make sure you coat every piece of pasta with the sauce because that is the base. I know you think the cheese is the base, but it really comes down to the bechamel. That's looking great. You can see it's already creamy without adding one lick of cheese. The only thing I'm going to add now is just, if it feels slightly thick, don't be afraid to loosen it up. Sometimes flour, no matter where you're at, you can make it at home one day with the same exact 2 tablespoons, and it will actually thicken up a little bit more than the day before, depending on how high the heat is, depending on the altitude, so many things. So just make sure that it's nice and it's a little nappe, right? Not too thick, and coats. We're gonna add in some pepper jack. You could do any cheese. I mean, honestly, we see people do every cheese underneath the sun in their mac and cheese. Gouda, pepper jack, a little bit of Havarti. I've seen folks do sharp cheddar, mild cheddar, white cheddar. Whatever you like, you can put in the cheese, the mac and cheese. So this is kind of what I do a little different. Instead of putting all the cheese in the sauce, I put it and I fold it into the pasta so that it stays cheesy and you're gonna get a little bit of that stringy goodness. All right, this is done. I want a little more black pepper because I like having that little pop of pepper with the mac, along with that nutmeg. We take a dish, any kind of casserole dish, and I do individual portions sometimes. So if you have some smaller ones, it works great. If you're feeding a family, use a big one. Then I take a little bit of cheese on the top, just so that it'll brown nicely. I like having that contrast of color with the white and the yellow, and like that orangish color that you get from cheddar. And I'm actually, because I'm using a smaller baking dish, I'm not even gonna put the foil. Sometimes I'll put aluminum foil if it's a big dish because I don't want it to cook on the outside much faster than the very inside of it. But here I'm not worried about it because really I have a small baking dish. It's gonna go in the oven at 350 for about 15 minutes, and then it's gonna be perfectly good. So we're gonna let that bake for about 10 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and that way the cheese will become all bubbly on the top and the very inside will be nice and hot. You can see all the bubbling that happens around the edges of it. Like some people say the edges are the best part. I just cannot help but dive right into this. Just a little taste, no one will know. Cheesy, hot goodness, just like my mama used to make it. The nutmeg, the cheese, the crunch on the top where the cheese got nice and crunchy. It's delicious. Your family's gonna enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it. For more recipes like this beautiful mac and cheese, you can find them at Sanjeev Kapoor Khazana. And please like, share, subscribe.